In the blistering heat of a desert wasteland, desire turns to betrayal, and betrayal ignites a storm of blood-soaked vengeance. What begins as a seductive weekend getaway erupts into a savage battle for survival. This is not a damsel story, it's the rebirth of a predator. The movie begins with a helicopter slicing through the silence on a barren desert, delivering Jen, a young, carefree American socialite, and her boyfriend, Richard, a wealthy and powerful Frenchman, to an isolated luxury villa nestled deep in the Moroccan wilderness. Roberto, Richard's loyal pilot, welcomes him with a thoughtful gift, a small, potent packet of peyote. Richard and Jen plan to spend a romantic weekend alone in this secluded paradise, far from the noise of the world and the easy joy of being alone together. But peace doesn't last. The next morning, as Jen pours herself a glass of water, she is startled by a man standing outside the window, stone-faced, clutching a rifle, staring in unsettling silence. Soon, a second man appears beside him, both armed, both strangers. Jen's alarm fades when Richard introduces them, Stan and Dimitri, his old buddies, who have arrived early for their annual hunting trip. Richard didn't expect them so soon and is visibly annoyed, wanting time alone with Jen. But out of politeness, he welcomes them. The four spend the day drinking and lounging by the pool. Jen flirts playfully with Richard, their intimacy on full display, while Stan and Dimitri look on with thinly veiled interest. Later that evening, beneath the desert moon, Jen, curious about the peyote, asks Richard about it. He tells a disturbing story of a man who, under its influence, cut off his own leg without so much a flinch. Sensing the danger, he tells Jen to hide it. She puts it in her locket, away from his eager friends. As the party continues, Jen, feeling playfully, begins to dance seductively, basking in their attention. When Richard declines to join her, she invites Stan instead. He accepts eagerly, unable to hide his fascination with her. Later, Richard pulls her inside, leaving Stan and Dimitri to their drinks. The next morning, Jen steps into the breakfast area, where only Stan sits, alone, calm, and watching her. Richard is away, handing their passports to a local gamekeeper, while Dimitri recovers from the night's hangover, floating lazily in the pool. With no one else around, Jen takes a seat, waiting for Richard. Stan, misreading their playful dance from the night before as an invitation, stares at her with unsettling intensity. Jen tries to deflect his advances with polite unease. But Stan, wounded by her rejection, grows cold and agitated. Awkwardness thickens the air. Jen excuses herself, seeking refuge in her room. As she changes, Stan watches her, brazenly and silently. She turns, startled, catching him in the act. Embarrassed, she pulls on her clothes, but he steps forward, uninvited, and sits on the bed beside her. He hands her a business card, awkwardly offering a future connection. She politely declines, citing her career. Pressing further, he demands to know what she dislikes about him. Jen answers with honesty. He's simply not her type. She prefers taller men. Her words strike him. Offended, something shifts in his expression. His rejection boils into something darker. Without warning, he tries to touch her, his aggression both verbal and physical. Jen grabs his hand, shoving him away, but before the situation worsens, Dimitri walks in, casually eating his snacks. Stan, caught in the act, mocks the moment. He asks Dimitri to either join or leave. Unmoved, Dimitri chooses the latter, closes the door behind him and heads for a casual swim, deliberately ignoring Jen's silent plea for help. Later that day, Richard returns to find the mood is tense, his friends oddly quiet. Stan casually admits, there's been a small problem with Jen. Richard storms to her room. He finds her sobbing, devastated. She begs to leave immediately. Richard, trying to soothe her, offers comfort, but his disappointment in his friends palpable. Hours later, Jen again demands to leave. Richard, frustrated, tries to downplay the ordeal. He offers her a new life, a job in Canada and a bank account flush with money, in exchange for her silence. But Jen refuses. She threatens to call his wife and expose their affair, unless he calls for the helicopter. A switch flips in Richard. His face hardens. Without a word, he slaps her, drawing blood. Jen, stunned but defiant, runs into the desert, barefoot and bleeding. Behind her, the trio gives chase, each with his own reason to silence her. Richard fears losing his family. Stan dreads the consequences of his crime, and Dimitri is guilty by his complicit silence. Jen runs until she reaches a cliff's edge, nowhere left to go. Richard approaches slowly. He offers apologies and warmth, calls Roberto, says the helicopter will arrive in 30 minutes. Relieved, Jen lets her guard down. But then, without warning, Richard turns and shoves her off the cliff. Her body crashes through tree branches before being violently impaled on one, far below. Her breath stops, blood pools. Above, Stan and Dimitri stare in shock. They hadn't expected this. Not from Richard. But Richard is resolute. Coldly, he explains, Jen was a liability. She could have put them all behind bars. Now, they'll go hunting as planned and clean up the mess as they go. He burns Jen's belongings, wipes the villa clean of her presence. Stan, watching, visibly shaken, apologizes. But Richard looks him in the eye and says he's never heard of her. But Jen is not gone. Not yet. Suspended upside down, impaled by the branch. Her body lies broken, blood dripping steadily into the desert sand. Flies swarm. Fire ants crawl over her torn skin. One by one they bite, their venom coursing through her, igniting dormant nerves. And then, her eyes snap open. Her body convulses. Pain roars through her veins like wildfire, but somewhere within the agony, something else stirs, defiance. With trembling fingers, she reaches for her lighter. A flick, a spark, she sets a fire at the base of the tree. The flames lick upward, weakening the brittle trunk until, snap, it gives way. The fall is brutal, but the branch remains lodged in her abdomen. Gasping, soaked in blood and dirt, Jen drags herself behind a rock outcropping just as the men return to the cliff's edge. They look down. Nothing, only blood and smoke. They descend to investigate, confused. They find the blood trail, thick, messy, but it vanishes. She's gone. Surely she can't have made it far. But the desert is vast, and Jen is now hunted. She limps through the scorching terrain, every movement excruciating. Her breaths come shallow, broken. The trio reaches a river. They decide to split up, spreading across the wilderness to trap her. But Jen is watching. From the shadows, she spots Dimitri, separated from the others, relieving himself by the water's edge. His shotgun lies beside him unattended. She seizes the chance. Silently, she creeps forward, snatches the weapon, and raises it, pulls the trigger. Click. The isn't loaded. Dimitri snatches it, striking her down, and radios the others, tells them he found her and that he will handle it. He drags her into the river. He forces her under again and again, drowning her while taunting her, amused by her struggle. But he underestimates her. In a final desperate surge, Jen gropes for his knife and drives it straight into his eye. Dimitri screams, lurches back, flailing blindly. Blood gushes in torrents. He stumbles, collapses, dead. Jen, shaken and soaked, removes the knife, his pack, and his ATV. In the moonlight, she speeds away until the fuel runs dry. She abandons the vehicle and slips into a rocky cave. Here, alone and broken, she finally confronts her wounds. She cracks open a beer. And then, she sees it. The locket, the peyote. She remembers Richard's story, the man who cut off his own leg without feeling pain. She swallows it. Moments later, the world begins to spin. The pain doesn't vanish, but something stronger rises in its place. Focus. With haunting resolve, she removes the branch still piercing her body. No scream. No hesitation. Then, she takes the beer can, heats it in the fire, and sears the wound shut. Skin sizzles. Smoke rises. Her eyes do not flinch. As dawn breaks, a new silence hovers over the river. Stan, groggy and grimy, crouches at the water's edge, splashing cool water across his face. He leans down, then freezes. It's Dmitri, skin puffed and pale. Stan recoils, stumbling backward into the very water he had hoped would cleanse him. Body ashore with shaking hands. They stuff the pockets with stones and let it sink once more, vanishing beneath the rippling surface. Richard is restless. He wants to keep moving, keep hunting, keep control. But Stan is unraveling. He turns on Richard, voice shaking, and blames him for the entire mess. Richard turns, without warning, breaks his nose with a sickening crunch. Blood pours, but Richard doesn't wait. He walks off, back to the hunt. Meanwhile, in a hidden crevice beneath sunlit cliffs, Jen stirs. A strange serenity has settled into her bones. The peyote burns through her bloodstream, keeping the pain at bay but sharpening her instincts. She looks down at her side. Where once the branch tore through her flesh, now there is a seared, angry scar. Branded with the phoenix emblem from the beer can, she used to cauterize herself. A symbol of rebirth. She rises, slow but steady. Her body is battered, her mind clear. She has seen death and crawled back from it. Now it's her turn to hunt. Far below, Stan drives along a treacherous mountain road. He's alone, or so he thinks. From a high ridge, binoculars glint. Jen spots him. She waits. The car sputters, coughs, and dies. Out of gas. Stan pulls over and begins refueling. Jen steadies her hands, takes aim, and fires. The shot hits his shoulder. He screams, dropping the fuel can, and she's knocked backward by the rifle's recoil. By the time she reaches the vehicle, it's empty. Stan is gone, but not far. A trail of blood winds into the desert. Jen follows the blood, crimson breadcrumbs scattered across the sand. She moves with a quiet fury, rifle in hand, eyes scanning every crevice of the terrain. Somewhere ahead, Stan bleeds and hides. And waits. He limps through the rocks, pressing a sock-turn tourniquet to his wound. One shoe off, gun clutched tight. And when Jen strides past his hiding spot, he pounces. Gunfire erupts in the canyon. Dust flies, rocks splinter. One shot grazes Jen, tearing a piece of her right ear off. She winces, blood trickling down her neck. She dives for cover. He's relentless. She's faster. The two circle each other through the maze of stone. A deadly dance in the furnace heat. Then, with a desperate cry, Jen smashes her flashlight against a rock wall. The sound echoes sharply, and Stan bolts toward it. He stumbles directly into a jagged shard, buried deep in the sole of his foot. Screaming, punching the shard out with trembling hands. He stumbles back to the vehicle, starts the engine with a grunt of pain, and speeds toward her like a wounded animal in his final charge. But Jen is ready. She raises the shotgun. Breath in, breath out. A shot rings out, clean and final. Stan's body slumps at the wheel as the vehicle veers and crashes to a halt. His war is over. Elsewhere, Richard is pacing. He tries the radio again. Static, no word from Stan. He radios the pilot, demands the helicopter. Then, as if nothing has happened, he steps into the shower. Steam rises, blood washes off his hands. But peace is a lie. A sound, a creak, a shadow at the edge of the glass. He grabs his shotgun and moves through the villa with predator's grace, only to sigh in relief when he sees it was just the pool cleaner. He turns his back, and that's when he sees her. Jen, caked in blood, eyes burning with vengeance. She pulls the trigger. The shot hits Richard in the gut. He collapses, clutching his stomach. But he's not dead. He drags himself across the floor, smearing blood behind him. But blood betrays him. His trail stains the floor, leading her straight to him, wrapping his wounds in cling film to keep his intestines inside. The house becomes a battleground. He hides as she stalks. They fire at each other across hallways and through shattered glass. She catches a glimpse, fires again. He runs as she follows. Jen slips on a pool of blood. Richard seizes the moment, choking the last breath out of her against the wall, while taunting her. But she retaliates, jams her fingers into his wound. He howls as she grabs her shotgun and fires, point blank. Richard's body collapses, lifeless and twisted. Silence falls once more over the desert. Jen, battered but unbroken, steps into the open desert. She is no longer prey. She is vengeance itself. And with that, the movie ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.